The Obituaries by the Prowler. In my advanced age, I've lost interest in hobbies one would partake in once retirement age was reached. There is something I find myself doing every morning to pass the hours, however, and it's something most older people do, and that's reading the obituaries. It may seem ghoulish or macabre to some, but most people read them to see if they recognize anyone who has recently died, like a former friend or one-time acquaintance. I do it for that same reason, but I also do it for another reason, a reason that I'm sure is strictly unique to me. I do it to read up on the people I've killed. I find joy in reading the brief history of their life, submitted by their loved ones. Now, that is something you may definitely think is macabre, and it is, but I could care less. You have to find your pleasures in this life, and this is mine. I even clipped them and placed them into photo albums. I've been doing this for years, so my collection is quite large. I have a closet's worth of stacks upon stacks of albums, and I intend to keep adding to it. I may be getting older, but I promise you, I'm the deadliest person you'll ever come across. Ain't no geriatrics here, my friend. I've been taking lies for decades now. Police have never even came close to catching me. That's all because I take care and pride in my work. If the police and the press knew of my macabre hobby, they would have been calling me the obituary killer, or Ripper for all these years. But sadly, since they don't, they have dubbed me the Steel Pier Ripper. It has a nice ring to it, I guess, but I think I prefer the obituary killer. It slides off the tongue with a menacing ease. Don't you agree? I've decided to spice things up and send the police a letter, to taunt them if you will. And before you say something, no, I'm not trying to get caught. I believe this is a good move. I've been eluding these fools for a long time, and I want them to know it. It's a move that's been used plenty of times in the past by some of the finest serial killers, like Jack the Ripper and the Prowler, who happens to be my personal favorite. Now it's my turn. I want to have a little fun, and you have to find the simple pleasures in life. Here's the letter I'm sending. Let's see what everyone thinks. To the incompetent hordes of clueless detectives that have tried to apprehend me through the decades, I am still here, and I'm still hunting. Picture in your minds at this time me laughing maniacally as I write this, because I am. How could I not laugh at such mediocrity, such incompetence, such failure? I'll tell you who isn't laughing, though. The countless loved ones of my victims who are still waiting for justice, waiting for the killer who ruined their lives to be finally caught. Sadly for them, because of your incompetence, they'll never know what justice feels like. I mean, I've already been doing this for so long, and doing it unchecked, that some of my victims' loved ones have died from old age. Hell, at this rate, I'll die of old age before you ever catch me. It is a shame. You've all been such fools. But that's the way this deadly cookie has been crumbling. One more thing before I go. I have never appreciated the name you have all bestowed upon me. While the Steel Pier Ripper might strike fear into the hearts of the public, it makes me cringe at the sound of it. If you will kindly indulge me, I'd prefer to be called from here on out the obituary killer. I will not give you my reasons as to why, I'll let you try to figure out the reason. I thank you for your consideration. However, I suggest you follow through with my request, for if you don't, I will go on a murderous rampage the likes you have never seen until you do. I'll be checking the papers, and I may reach out again in the near future. My blade is dry and is thirsty for blood. Yours truly, the Obituary Killer. Well, I think that will all suffice. I think it has the proper amount of taunting and terror, an airing of grievances regarding my name. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a letter to mail, and my next victim to prepare for. If that poor unfortunate soul happens to be you, then I look forward to reading about you in the obituaries. Names in black ink. Anonymous author. They began arriving on Thursdays. Folded into the local paper, the obituary section had always been thin, 2 or 3 notices, of photographs often by age, dates separated by a dash. But one morning, Clara noticed her name printed there in careful black ink. Clara Whitmore, 1989 to 2026. Beloved daughter, devoted librarian, survived by no one. She laughed at first, a brittle sound, and told herself it was a mistake. Another Clara Whitmore, surely. Yet the photograph beneath the name was unmistakably her. The same chipped front tooth, the same cardigan she'd worn just last winter. The date of death read Saturday. Clara didn't leave her apartment that day. She locked the doors, unplugged the phone, watched the hours crawl. When Sunday arrived intact, she burned the paper in the sink and tried to forget. The next Thursday, the obituary section had doubled in size. Names filled the paper. People she recognized. Mr. Holloway from the corner store, a girl who worked nights at the diner. Each notice was precise, intimate. Each listed a death that hadn't happened yet. By Friday night, sirens wailed endlessly through town. On Saturday morning, Clara walked past the diner. Police tape fluttered in the wind. Someone had been stabbed in the alley out back. The girl's name was already waiting in Clara's pocket, folded into yesterday's paper. The obituaries were never wrong. Panic spread as word got out. People stopped buying the paper, but it didn't matter. Copies appeared anyway, on porches, in mailboxes, slipped under doors. The obituary section grew thicker, stapled separately now, heavy as a phone book. Some names vanished from the list before their dates arrived. Those people packed up and fled town. Their obituaries changed the following week. Presumed deceased, body not recovered. Clara stopped sleeping. Every Thursday, she searched the pages for herself, hand shaking, breath caught in her throat. Her name never reappeared until the paper published early. A special edition waited outside her door on a Tuesday morning. Damp with dew. The obituary section was a single page, this time. Only one name. Clara Whitmore, 1989 to 2026. Cause of death, unspecified. Time of death, unknown. Below it, no photograph, just a blank space where her face should have been. That night, Clara felt something shift, like a curtain drawn back inside her chest. The mirrors in her apartment no longer reflected her. Her footsteps made no sound. When she pressed her hand to her heart, she felt nothing answering back. On Thursday, the paper arrived as usual. There was no obituary section at all. Across town, people went about their lives, relieved, believing the nightmare had ended. But at the printing press, a new position had opened, one that required someone meticulous, quiet, and very familiar with names. And every week, Clara carefully typed the truth, long before it happened. The last line, unknown author. Caleb Morton read obituaries the way other men read love letters, slowly, reverently, savoring every word. Each morning he unfolded the paper at the kitchen table, the house quiet except for the ticking clock. Names stared back at him, frozen in ink. Beloved mother, devoted husband, survived by. That part was always his favorite. Survived by meant unfinished business. Caleb believed death was sloppy. It left loose ends, people still breathing who should have followed the deceased into silence. His work was to correct that, to make the story whole. He clipped the obituaries carefully, sliding them into a leather folder arranged by date. Today's caught his eye immediately. Margaret Lee, 67, survived by her son Daniel Lee. Just one survivor, clean, intimate. Daniel lived alone. According to the public records Caleb checked over coffee. A small rental house at the edge of town. No spouse, no children, no one to notice him missing right away. Caleb dressed in black, not to blend in, but out of respect. He waited until nightfall. When Daniel opened the door, confusion flickered across his face. "Can I help you?" "I'm sorry," Caleb said softly. "I knew your mother." Daniel frowned. "I don't—" The knife slid in easily, as if glided by the obituary itself. Daniel collapsed without much noise. Caleb stayed until the breathing stopped. He always stayed. Rushed deaths offended him. Back home, he returned to the kitchen table and took out a pen. On a blank sheet, he wrote Daniel's obituary himself. Short, accurate, no survivors listed. That was the most important part. Weeks passed. The folder grew thicker. Caleb's hands steadier. He felt proud when he saw families entirely erased, their names ending properly, like a period at the end of a sentence. Then one morning, the paper trembled in his hands. The obituary was framed in black. Caleb Morton, 54. A quiet man, remembered by few, survived by no one. Caleb laughed, a sharp sound that echoed too long in the empty house. A mistake. He was very much alive. He read it again. The details were perfect. His address, his habits, even the scar on his left wrist. At the bottom, a final line he had never seen before. Services to be held privately. The clock stopped ticking. Caleb felt a presence behind him. Patient, familiar. Someone who had read his life carefully and found it wanting. As the lights went out, he understood the rule. he had ignored. No story ends until the obituary slayer is finished too. Time of death, tonight. Unknown author. The obituary appeared on page 6, boxed in thin black lines like a polite apology. Elias Morrow, 34, beloved son, quiet neighbor, taken too soon. I stared at the name over my morning coffee, the mug trembling slightly in my hand. It wasn't the name that unsettled me, it was the photograph. It was me. Same tired eyes, same faint scar under the left eyebrow from a childhood fall, same crooked smile I never quite managed to fix. The photo was recent. I recognized the jacket I'd worn just last week. I laughed once, sharp and hollow, convincing myself it was a mistake. Someone who looked like me. A coincidence stretched thin by caffeine and nerves. Then I read the details. Elias was known for his solitary walks after dark. He resided alone in a narrow house on Birch Street. My address. He will be remembered for keeping to himself and for the way his light stayed on long after midnight. The room felt suddenly smaller, the air heavier. I flipped a page, hoping for relief, but the obituary continued. Services will be private. No visitors requested. At the bottom, in smaller print, time of death, tonight. The clock on the wall ticked louder than it ever had. 6:42 p.m. I stood, knocking the chair over, and checked my phone. No missed calls, no warnings. Outside, the sky had dimmed to a bruised purple, clouds pressing low like a lid. I told myself it was a prank, a sick joke. I could leave, prove it wrong. But as I reached the front door, I noticed something new beneath the obituary headline, a line I swore hadn't been there before. He is survived by those who will find him. A knock came, slow, deliberate, perfectly timed between heartbeats. I didn't open the door. The knock came again, closer somehow, as if the sound had moved inside the house. The lights flickered. The clock struck 7. From the hallway mirror, someone stared back at me, still wearing my face, but calmer now, already at rest. The newspaper slipped from my hands. Tomorrow's edition, I realized too late, wouldn't need a photograph.